We screened over 1,000 different plant extracts. We searched the worldwide looking for those plants that did that job. Now, here's a problem. We know that there is an internal mechanism within the body, this internal antioxidant mechanism in the body that maintains this balance, but there was no test that we could use to determine whether plants were working on that system. We needed something that we could look at and see right away whether a plant was working or not. You couldn't go and buy it off the shelf. Well, I want you to know that Amway and Nutrilite and NutriWay have invested in cell biologists and molecular biologists and biochemists and chemists and nutritional scientists, and they're all working out there to try and solve this problem. And so within our own laboratories, we developed a cell-based assay that could show us whether or not plants were working on this mechanism or not. You have the same sort of people working at NutriWay to do this that high-powered pharmaceutical companies like Pfizer are using to develop the latest medicinal products. The same type of folks. Very high caliber. I just want you to know what backs this product, and all of our products, really. So we had to develop that assay, and we did. We developed the assay, and that allowed us to screen through 1,000 different botanical extracts. We did over 20,000 tests, and we found the best. We made our top 10 list, and we thought a little bit more, and we said, hey, listen, maybe, just maybe, these plants work a little bit differently the way they activate this internal mechanism. Maybe we can find some synergy that instead of 1 + 1 = 2, we can find 1 + 1 = 5. Because if we could do that, we could make the tablet smaller and therefore help you with that other issue that you wanted. Make the tablet smaller, the stomach upset, new antioxidant thing. Oh, keep the price the same. You guys are tough. You are tough. Well, we did that research, and we found, in fact, that very thing, that there was a combination of plants that we could use that seemed to give us that synergy. And that, we found, was a phytonutrient that occurs in a lot of different plants, but it's particularly enriched in one plant that comes out of Brazil, that's called Fava dianta. Okay? Beautiful tree. It's got some nice big bean pods on it, and those bean pods are just loaded with quercetin. And quercetin is a very important phytonutrient. Rosemary. I like rosemary. My wife is from the country of Cyprus in the Mediterranean, and she's Greek, and she cooks all those Mediterranean foods, and I love to eat. And so rosemary seems to do this as well. And turmeric. And most of you know turmeric from curries, right? And turmeric has some wonderful properties. But these three seem to hit this mechanism and work better together than if they were done separately. And so to show you this, I've made a little graph up here. And so here's the response that we see when we just assay these separately. You can get a response. So this is, turning on that mechanism. And here's a response for rosemary, and there's the response for turmeric. And if we just took all these responses and added them up, that's what we'd expect to get if we put all three of them in there together at the same time. That's what we actually got. So 1 + 1 + 1. Wow. Yeah. So that was a unique finding, a unique discovery. We patented that. We're the only one that can use it. When you sell this product, there's no competition for you. That is exclusive to NutraWhite. Okay? We even published a peer-reviewed paper on this just to take it out to the scientific community and have them take a look at what we had done and then bless it to say, yes, your science is good, publish it. And we published it in a peer-reviewed journal that you can find online. It's available to you. Okay? So this was really great. And we call this combination of quercetin, rosemary, turmeric, we call that combination PhytoProtect. Okay? All right. Well, that's great. Wow. But you know, I'm a geek. And I'm sitting there going, well, okay, we showed we have synergy. How are these things working? How are they doing that? What's going on? Why do they work differently? How does this happen? I mean, I just wanted to understand. It'd just make more sense to me if I could understand what's going on. So I want to tell you about this internal antioxidant mechanism because I think it's cool. I am a geek. But I want to share that with you because I think you're going to find it's really cool too. And it'll give you a little bit more insight into how amazing your bodies are, how amazing we all are inside. So, we're going to talk about cells. Okay? You have lots and lots and lots of cells in your body, lots of them. And in each and every one of the cells in your body, there are a couple of proteins that are involved with this mechanism. Okay? So I like to use metaphors, and I think it helps to explain things a little bit better. And so I'm going to use this metaphor. And so let's think of the cell kind of like you think of your house, right? So in your house, you like to go and cook. And so you use fire to cook, right? So fire is useful. And you have fire for the furnace, right? And you heat your house with that, and that's useful. But if you have a grease fire on the stove, for example, now you've got an out-of-control situation. Okay? And so if we look at the cell kind of like your house, and you've got free radicals, and you need free radicals to do certain things for you, just like you need fire to do certain things for you. If you need free radicals to do certain things for you, everything is all well and good until you get an out-of-balance situation. Free radicals are a little bit out of control now, and we've got to do something. Well, with your house, if you listen to your wife, and you had bought that fire extinguisher when she told you to, you could have put that fire out before it got started. Or maybe if you had changed the battery in the smoke detector, it would have detected that fire before it got out of control. Or maybe if you had some fire retardant materials or sprinklers or, you just were preventative, then things wouldn't have gotten too bad. Right? So, now, if you had all those things and you had a fire, well, in the first case, you didn't get the fire extinguisher. What do you got to do? You got to call the fire department, right? And the fire department comes out, and they're going to put the fire out. First thing they're going to do is to stop the fire from spreading to your neighbors because they don't need to get punished from you not buying that fire extinguisher. So they're going to hose the house down and prevent the neighbors from getting burned down, and then they're going to take care of the fire in your house. And what happened to the inside of your house? Ooh, you got a lot of damage in there. Yep, if you just bought that fire extinguisher. All right. So in the second circumstance, if you had all of that stuff in there, if you had the smoke detector, if you had the fire extinguisher, you had the sprinkler system and everything, and those things worked, how much damage would you have? Minimal, right? So that's what your body is doing. Your body has that mechanism going on, and there it's kind of acting like that. It's kind of acting like this alarm system that's taking care of all these things. You know, you can still, you know, if you have the fire and you have the fire extinguisher, put it out, you can still call the fire department. The fire department come in and check everything out for you. That's a good thing. But at least you stopped all the damage. So let's think of our bodies like that. So we're going to use that kind of metaphor thinking, okay? So let's take a look inside our cells. And we've got a couple of proteins in there that occur within every cell of the body. And it's not just these two proteins. These two proteins kind of go hand in glove. And it's not just two that are in every cell of the body. You actually have hundreds and hundreds of these proteins that always come in pairs like that. And so they're in pairs, and well, we can look at them just metaphorically as well. One of them is a fireman and one of them is a policeman, and they're going arm in arm right down to the recycle bin. These proteins then get redigested and recycled. Every 20 minutes this goes on, hundreds of times in the cell, except when there is that out of balance situation that is sensed. And when it's sensed by these two proteins, the policeman releases the fireman, who goes over to the nucleus in your cell where all your DNA is kept and sounds a fire alarm and says, there is an out of balance situation here. Start ramping up production of antioxidants. And it ramps up the production of antioxidant proteins. It ramps up the production of proteins that make antioxidant. It ramps up proteins that repair the damage. Okay? And when all that happens and the balance starts to get put back in place, that fireman comes out of the nucleus of the cell, latches on to the policeman again. They walk down to the recycle bin. The whole process starts over. This is going on all the time in your bodies right now, in every cell of your bodies, over and over and over again. And you're just sitting there as happy as you can be, and they're doing all the work for you. Right? All right. So it turns out, I didn't advance this, so I guess I should do it. So here we go. We see the proteins going together. Fire alarm is sounded. One protein takes off and goes into the nucleus, and it binds to the DNA in the nucleus of the cell and sounds the alarm to start making all that stuff. You have 200 different genes, by the way, in your DNA that just do that thing, that just are related to that antioxidant defense. That's how important it is. 200 different genes in your body that do this. And this thing sounds the alarm, and all those things start to activate. And then its job is done, and it comes out. So where does Phytoprotect come in? Well, it turns out that rosemary makes more of one of these proteins. That's the fireman protein. It makes more of that. Okay? And turmeric contains phytonutrients that actually help those two come apart, the policeman and the fireman. They come apart so that the fireman can go in and start its job. And quercetin, that it's in fava de anta, also is found in onions, by the way. That seems to be able to keep that fireman inside the nucleus by the DNA, and it won't come out as fast. So the longer it's in there, the more it's activating. So now we understand why these three can work together synergistically, because they're doing something a little bit different. And the consequence of that is you just get this huge ramp up of that antioxidant defense mechanism. Wow. Okay. I got my geek on tonight. Hopefully you learned a little bit, but that's why that works the way it does. All right. Well, I'm going to tell you another little story. You're just learning all sorts of things tonight. I mentioned earlier that we have members from our scientific advisory board that kind of help us out with stuff because they are touching base with all the current cutting edge science, and they feed that information to us. And we have one lady who is an expert in her field, done a lot of work with omega-3s, but does a lot of work with other things too. And she mentioned to us that, you know something, when I grow herbs in Greece, Greece is a very arid climate. It gets really, really hot. It gets 40 to 44 C in the summertime. It can get toasty. And when I compare the phytonutrients in rosemary grown in that environment, it's different than what you see if it was grown in France in a, in a cultured environment where it had lots of water and mild climates and everything. The phytonutrients are different. And when you stop and think about it, yeah, that kind of makes sense, because the phytonutrients that the plant has from an arid, hostile environment like there is in Greece, well, the plant has to do something to protect itself, right? Yeah, if it's going to survive, it's got to. Well, I mentioned earlier my wife comes from the country of Cyprus, which is in the Mediterranean, and it has a very hot summer as well. And I remember going and seeing different ancient sites there, and there was wild rosemary growing everywhere, and it looked dead. It was all brown, yellow colored and everything, and I thought, it's dead. And I touched some of that rosemary, and wow, this was really aromatic. I mean, it was strong. It's not like the rosemary I got from the grocery store. This stuff was strong. And I asked my wife, is this stuff dead? She said, no, it's growing. It's growing. It lives there. It just grows all over the place there. Yeah, there were big bushes all over the place. And so rosemary and other plants like that, when they get in these harsh climates, they produce certain phytonutrients to protect themselves so that they can survive in that environment. Now, let's carry that thought a little bit further. Since we grew with our environment, and we take nourishment from plants in our environment, would it make sense that during times of stress like that, we're going to be stressed too? And if we eat plants that are producing factors in them, phytonutrients in them, that help protect the plant, that maybe our bodies might also take certain phytonutrients like that and then use them in us to help protect us. Does that make sense? And so we think that's what's happened. We are actually taking nutrients from things like rosemary that it uses to protect itself, and our bodies have adapted that to protect itself during those stressful times. So, where do we get these ingredients? And I just wanted to let you know that we look globally to find them. So we get turmeric. We look globally to find them because it's not necessary that you grow them in really great environments. Like, we have Nutrilite farms we can grow things on. We can take care of them, we get big biomass and everything, but it doesn't mean that you're actually getting the absolute best phytonutrient out of it. We want to look globally and see where we can get the best phytonutrients. We tested all this stuff, and we found that if you can get turmeric out of Cambodia or India, that is really good. And so there are farmers who grow this for us using our NutriCert program to guarantee that it's organic and guarantee that it's got the quality that we're looking for. And they do that for us, and so they harvest that for us sustainably. We get rosemary out of the Atlas Mountains in Morocco, very arid environment. And there's lots of rosemary growing there, and they harvest this through something called wild crafting. Basically, they go out and they take bits and pieces of the plant, so they don't harvest the entire plant, they take bits and pieces, and we use that. And so that's done sustainably as well. And we get Faudeanta out of equatorial region of Brazil, and that again meets this NutriCert qualification and produces this great source of quercetin. So that's what NutriWay scientists are doing, going around and trying to find this. All right.
nutrition science is constantly evolving. So we constantly are upgrading, improving our XX supplement based on current nutritional science. XX is a nutritional supplement that provides vitamins, minerals, and phytonutrients that the body needs. And this next generation product is going to be incorporating phytonutrients that we've discovered can trigger an antioxidant defense mechanism that is internal to us. This is something new. This is something that's profound, actually. Stress can cause our bodies to generate free radicals. Now, free radicals themselves are needed for our bodies to fight against infection. But when it gets out of balance, it can lead to aging and disease. But each cell of our bodies can pick up when there is an out of balance situation. And our bodies start producing defensive proteins that help protect the body and help repair the damage. So what we want to do is feed our bodies the right nutrients that will help us activate this internal defense mechanism. And that's the strategy that we've taken going into this next generation XX. Something very exciting is our new PhytoProtect blend. We have searched through literally over 1,000 different plants to find the top 3 performers that help our bodies defend against free radicals. Those ingredients work synergistically together to help the body defend itself and maintain that balance. The other thing that we've done is we've made the tablets smaller. We've actually put more in the product, and we did this by making the botanicals much more concentrated. And this helps us to deliver such things as our new berry blend that is just loaded with the purple category of fruits and vegetables that were missing from people's diets. The technologies that are going into this next generation XX product are really profound. It's the next leap forward in antioxidant science.